Yes, yes, yes. Oh, you know what that sound means. It's time for In the Paddock F1. Greeny and the cheese. We are back in the Middle East for the second time. We race in Qatar. Qatar, known for its oil fields. Did you know this, Michael? Qatar has the largest natural gas field in the world. How about them apples?
That's why you bring an F1 race to Qatar.
It also hosted the 2022 World Cup. That's why we didn't race there last year.
Correct.
And while you're there, maybe you want to relax on the resort island, Banana Island. Get your own private beaches. And of course, when you're in Qatar, you have to go see a camel race and the robot jockeys. But this isn't a no travel show. This is an F1 show. And we're racing to the sales circuit, 3.36 miles, 16 corners. Corners just keep coming at you, flowing. You give it the full beans for 59% of your lap. And we were back in Arrakis, but there was no spice. It was an absolute mess. Let's just be honest. It was an absolute mess. Tire issues yet again. You can only go 18 laps before your tires are probably going to explode. Mandated 3 pit stops, which took away all the spice you could ever want. No, just an absolute mess. Humid as heck. Drivers are puking on themselves in the car. Passing out after the race. Absolute disaster. Max got off to a start and was off and away, dominating his typical fashion as he has all season long. Piastri takes second. Norris third. And another double podium for McLaren. We're caffeinated. We're medicated. Greeny, good evening, sir.
What a hot one. That's indeed. Absolutely. It was a hot one. And I mean, drivers were asking to get buckets of water dumped on them. I mean, Alonso literally said, "My ass is on fire." Like, what are we supposed to do here? My ass is on fire. And what are you supposed to do in those situations? You know, it happens back in the day. They would not even back in the day. I mean, they do it at Indy. You know, you just dump a bucket of water on someone, but you don't have time with 2 seconds. You have 2.5 seconds.
No.
3 seconds. You don't have time to dump a bucket of water on someone. So I guess that's the disadvantage of having a shorter pit stop and in Formula One.
There's no fueling. That's where you're just changing tires. So in IndyCar and in other disciplines, they refuel the car in each stop, so the driver has time to get a drink. Because the bottles in the F1 car, that thing becomes hot tea within minutes. Because of how hot the inside of the car is and where the driver sits, right by the engine. Underneath them is the batteries and all kinds of things like that. Radiators are right next to them as well in the side pods. So it's just hot everywhere. So there's no real place to put anything to drink that's going to be able to stay cold enough. So yeah, it was just an absolute hot mess. I mean, I never seen that many drivers almost, and hearing drivers passing out after, having to have medics come over. I mean, that's madness. That's madness. That's absolute madness.
It really was, and it was that hot. It makes you second guess. I mean, if anyone who followed the lead up to the World Cup knows how many casualties there were in building those stadiums in Qatar, it really was not a healthy place. It's getting hotter and hotter. This is not a.
Well, it's also how Qatar, where Qatar is on the Arabian Peninsula. It's humid, yet they get no rain. And it's desert, so it's hot as heck. So it's this lose-lose situation, really. I mean, there's just abysmal conditions. I mean, F1's going to have to think if they want to go back there. Or figure out a different time of year maybe to go when it's maybe a little bit, a slightly bit cooler. I mean, that's insane. When you have basically the whole field ready to pass out and die. Like, after races, drivers don't collapse. They don't even do that in Singapore, which is said to be one of the the hardest race on the calendar. Not no more. That's Qatar now. Never heard of that before. And these guys are well-conditioned athletes. I mean, Carlos Sainz before they train for Singapore, he trains in the sauna to prepare yourself for that. But this is just even more extreme. This is madness. Insane. Never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it was really, really hot. And did we mention Max Verstappen won again?
Well, yeah, and it's three-time world champion now.
Did we mention that Max Verstappen is a three-time world champion on in a sprint race? Did we mention that? If you missed our special episode we put out just for YouTube, we put that out earlier in the week. So if you missed that, check that out. As the ridiculousness, it felt like Max was trying to lose that. Not to go back to the sprint race, felt like he was definitely trying to not win the sprint race, being in fifth, and he just turned it on and came in second. Oscar Piastri, got to give it up to him. The first driver on either him or Lando. It's amazing it was him before Lando. That might say something, it might not say anything. And then yesterday he beat Lando again. All weekend, Oscar Piastri beat Lando and came on podium unbelievably. I told you there were going to be two McLarens on podium before the race, and you said I was absolutely out of my mind. You didn't use those particular words, but that's what you were thinking. You were thinking you basically had a health check on me. You're like, the sprint race has nothing to do.
Well, that was ruined. That was ruined by Lewis Hamilton in turn one. That was ruined by Lewis Hamilton in turn one, because the Mercs were quick. They were as quick as the McLarens all weekend. I mean, it's going to be a battle between those two teams and outside of Max for the podium spots, and that race was ruined. I mean, Russell drove an incredible race after Lewis took him out and on a 4 pit stop strategy and still ends up finishing fourth. I mean, that's insane drive. I mean, he was flying through the field. I mean, you put him up there at the front with the McLarens, he definitely gets to the podium. He definitely gets to the podium because he was flying. He was absolutely flying. He was cutting through the field like it was hot, like a hot knife through butter. And he didn't do it once. He did it like 3 times. So he was cooking. But Lewis, I mean, we'll get into that in the next segment, but that was embarrassing, to be honest. I mean, I don't know where he thought he was going.
It's Lewis of old showing his head again a little bit, but this time it didn't work out. This time the Merc maybe wasn't as fast. It definitely is not as fast as it used to be. The performance of the Mercedes is definitely not what it was. And maybe Lewis had a flashback of some of winning this in 2021 and might have lost his mind a little bit out there. Not good.
Oh, he lost his mind.
Not good. He did this as well, almost the same move against Oscar Piastri, I believe.
Well, did it to Rosberg, too, in Spain.
Well, did it to Rosberg in Spain famously as well. If those who don't remember, was that 2017?
Yeah,
something like that. 16, 17.
Maybe 2016?
Maybe 16. Yeah, it's just classic Lewis showing up, and, it happens. It happens, but no Mercedes on the podium. Russell came back and ended up being almost beached again later on and kept fighting back. I mean, that was a heck of a race by George Russell. We'll get to him in a little bit, but I don't know, today was all about Max Verstappen, and I think the weekend was, I think McLaren did a great job completely overshadowing the Max Verstappen's third championship here. But Max Verstappen...
Well, that's because it happened. That's because it happened on Saturday. That's why.
It was ridiculous.
I mean, they already did their party Saturday. I mean, they gave the helmet he wore was a gift they gave him for the 3-time world championship. So he wasn't even wearing that helmet the whole weekend. He only wore it on Sunday. So, I mean, they had their party on Saturday night. And then came back and still won the race on Sunday.
Partied all night, man. Partied all night.
Partied, and then came back and still won it. I mean,
sorry, I'm getting my glasses on here because I'm getting ready for Quizmaster's Cockpit, which is coming up next. Any final thoughts before we get to the next segment of Quizmaster's Cockpit? I'm trying to get into your head, trying to figure out what questions are going to come out of your melon.
Oh, you got no chance.
What questions are coming out? Is it going to be buzzers or is it going to be bells this week? He's saying buzzers. I think you're a little salty.
Losers again.
I think you're a little salty about what's coming in the third segment. We're getting to the second segment any final thoughts about Max Verstappen's elite company of how many championships or how many races he's won this season? Elite company as well in drivers' championships as well. Final thoughts?
It's just absolutely impressive. What's it? Was that his 14th win on the season?
I think so.
I mean, and we've what? We got 5 more races to go. So how many is it going to get to? 19? Probably. Can't really see a track coming up that's not really possible. I mean, to be honest, just absolutely impressive. Red Bull's just completely that, and him in that car is just absolutely dominant.
Listen, if this guy can party all night, can you party all night and then get in that car and drive 57 laps with all that Michigas going on, pit stops overheating? Stick around with us, man. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Drink some water. I am ready. Right out the gate, man. Because it's Quizmaster's Cockpit. And all I know is you're going to have a doozy for me, man. And you already got the look in your eye that you're pre-failing me. You are the worst teacher ever. You're just pre-failing me. What would Yoda say?
Failure is the greatest teacher, my friend.
All right. I got no notes. I got nothing. I don't know where you're going with this one.
I went just completely outside the box on this one because this is just the second race in Qatar, so there's nothing we can go back on really. So completely outside of the box. One question pertains to the weekend. The other 2 do not. But the other 2 will test your Formula One knowledge, my friend.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1. If you don't get this, I think you should slap your own self.
All right.
What team has the second most starts in Formula One behind Ferrari?
That's way out of the box, man. Mercedes.
No. McLaren. McLaren has 941 starts in Formula One. They are second to Ferrari's 1,068. So as usual, we're off to a flying start. That's why I write losers first every week now.
Should know with the context from the weekend.
Yeah, well. I mean,
what are you going to do?
Right there for you.
Keep them coming.
Question 2. What game-changing rule change was introduced for the 2006 season?
Game-changing rule change.
In 2006.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Five seconds.
No idea. Was it qualifying?
That is actually correct. Didn't think you were getting that one.
Wow.
Yes, that's when Q1, 2, and 3 qualifying was introduced. Before that, you had what they have. They had the hour shootout for a while.
Right, the shoot, yeah.
Then they had the single lap, and it would go in championship order. What's it from? I think it was from the 50s to I think somewhere maybe around 90 something, there was like 2 sessions, one on Friday, one on Saturday, which was a mess because you could have like rain on Friday and nothing and clear on Saturday, or vice versa. It was madness too.
But you could bring
Q1, 2, and 3.
You could bring your own car to the track and race it if you wanted to.
Right. Those are the days, sir.
Those were the days.
But yes, that is correct. That's when Q1, 2, and 3 qualifying was introduced. So you got one this week. Yes!
Pull that out somewhere out of the hat here, yeah.
Question 3. Maybe you'll get this one too. We'll see.
No.
What team holds the fastest pit stop record?
It's not Red Bull with 1.8 seconds?
It's 1.8 seconds, but it's not Red Bull. It was just actually broken this weekend by McLaren.
McLaren
broke it. 1.8 seconds. The record before that was 1.82 by Red Bull. So, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
It happened this weekend.
I know, it just happened this weekend. Too. That was a great job. That was the last thing on my mind with that pit stop, though.
Well, got to test that.
I didn't know it was record, but I knew it was 1.8. I didn't know it was record breaking. To be honest,
that was record breaking this weekend.
I didn't realize
that's correct. But since you only got 1 out of 3, that makes you a loser. So that'll take us right into losers. And my first loser is going to be, I don't say this, you've done it before, but I'm giving it to Lewis Hamilton. That was just a bonehead move. I mean, he admitted it after. Said once he watched it, takes full responsibility, went and apologized to George Russell face to face like a man. Got to give him kudos for that. But that was just a bonehead rookie move. Gun-ho iguana. That's what that was. It was a gun-ho iguana move. And my second loser, I'm going to give it to Sergio. I mean, that was just a hot mess. Yay, the start from the pit lane, but what do you get? What do you get? 2 5-second penalties for exceeding track limits? 3?
I think he had 3 total 5-second penalties. I believe that's what they had.
So then he got 3.
Exceeding,
then he got 3. So I mean, that's just. I mean, I'll get into that. I think in the next segment here too. The question I have for you for our new segment, but I mean, everybody had to do it, but to get that many penalties, that's sad. That's embarrassing. I mean, he's just driving like hot garbage. Straight up just hot garbage. I mean, he should be on the podium every single race. I mean, that's just plain and simple. When your car is that good, I mean, Bottas, whenever we would be, saying Bottas didn't deserve to be in the Merc seat, he still finished on the podium most races. I mean, when you got that dominant of a car, you got to be on the podium. If you really want to think about it in this respect too, talking about that, you take away Perez's points, right? For Red Bull, Max Verstappen himself would be leading the Constructors' Championship for Red Bull just on his points alone. So he even really needs Sergio Perez. So they should even be like that far ahead. This thing should have been wrapped up probably before the break even, if Perez was doing what he's supposed to be doing this season. So those are my losers. Hot garbage for both of them.
Sergio has scored 1 point in the last 2 races.
Yeah. That's not going to do it, as they say. Not going to do it.
Who says that? All right, moving on.
You got for losers. You're lost.
You lost me there. AlphaTauri stinks. AlphaTauri legit stinks. The whole team stinks. Yuki Tsunoda was actually in the points where I thought he was gonna actually get points. Now 15th. I mean, come on. What's going on at the back of the pack there? I mean, you nailed it with Lewis Hamilton. But the whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's a mess. I'm gonna kill this guy. And can we give it to Logan Sargent this week? I mean, I know picking off the back of the pack here, but outside of Lewis in the front of the pack, not much was going on.
I mean, you can, since he didn't finish the race, but apparently they didn't tell you this, but apparently he had flu symptoms early in the week. So
All right, that's a little rough.
He was dehydrated probably going into the week, and then you got to race that,
All right, then how about I move it over? Slide it over here. Let's go with Pierre Gasly, finished 12th, losing 5 positions. I don't know what was going on there, especially Alpine's been looking good the last couple races. Alpine's been looking more competitive. Esteban Ocon was competitive, but Pierre Gasly wasn't. And I didn't see anything specifically wrong with his vehicle that would cause him to finish 12th. Maybe I missed something.
No.
And behind someone who's probably going to get slapped. But those are my losers.
Well, then it's happy time, people.
Happy.
How good winners. How the good winners. We trashed them a lot this season. How about Alfa Romeo? Both cars in the points. I can't even remember the last time that happened.
No. I think Alfa Romeo's coming in with 4.
I think you might have to go back to like what, the first race of the season maybe, or something like that. I think that might have happened at Bahrain maybe. Possibly, but it's been quite a while since you had both those cars in the points. And we talked about it in the first thing, but I'm going to give it to George Russell because that was just an impressive recovery drive. And the amount of times he had to come through the field. I mean, that was just impressive. Just an absolute great drive. Great drive for him this weekend. Great recovery.
Great drive.
What do you got, sir?
That was a great drive, a great recovery from him as well. Sorry, I was just checking out the standings there, the bottom of the pack. As Alpha put themselves in a good spot. They're actually chasing Williams now. With that 8th, 9th finish. He gobbled up the whole front. I mean, Charles Leclerc. Can we give it to Charles Leclerc?
Top 5.
Not having any help out there with Sainz not even starting, so it's never easy. This race is never easy. Just like George Russell had a great race without Hamilton being out there. Actually, probably in spite of Hamilton after what went down.
Yeah.
But Leclerc's been playing second fiddle to Sainz a lot and gave him an opportunity to come out there. Would love to see him on the podium. I'm sure you would love to see him on the podium.
I knew the Ferrari was going to struggle all weekend. The medium to high speed corners is not the Ferrari strong point this year.
Not at all.
And that's all there is at the sale. I mean, you don't even. I think you go the lowest gear you go to is like 4th gear for one corner. Everything else is you're in a higher gear than that for the entire lap. So yeah.
Yeah, so and I'm also going
to get a top 5. That's impressive. That was
top 5 was impressive. Top 5 was impressive.
That was the best you could hope for.
That's about it. I mean, we know that Sainz just struggled with his car, couldn't even get it to the starting
they had
line.
the fuel issue, and they didn't have the time to be able to change it.
The Italian ponies are not made for the desert, sir.
I don't think not a lot of things is made for that desert, to be honest. Not fit for man nor beast.
But I'm gonna finish this segment with a usual suspect, which is Fernando Alonso. I mean, forget about him finishing 6th and starting 4th and losing 2 positions, and not having ever any help at the front of the field, ever having any help from his teammate at the front of the field, which we'll get to him in a moment. But yeah, just another great performance. It gets hot. The older you get, the harder it is. That was tough. He was by far the oldest guy on that field, and having to deal with that heat. He was the one who just went, my ass is on fire. And I opened the show with it, and I'll close that segment with it. But, sir, as we're running a little overtime here.
I need to slap my goddamn self for that.
Somebody be slapping themselves.
I got 2 for you this week.
Go ahead.
I got two. Number one comes from your team, Haas. Hulkenberg, slap your damn self. How about you line up in the right spot on the grid? Huh? How about that? How about that?
It's fair.
How about that? How about
Fair
that?
criticism.
How about that? I mean, you knew the guy wasn't starting. Car's not in the grid spot before you leave for the formation lap. Yet you pull all the way up. You dumbass. Slap your damn self for that.
The spot's sitting right there. That's your guy who wasn't in it. Spot's right there.
Doesn't mean you go in there. You're not allowed to do that.
It's very tempting for a Haas driver. 12th is a very tempting start for a Haas driver. That's what you dream of.
But slap your damn self for that. And then my other slap is going to Lance Stroll. I mean, slap your damn self. I mean, I don't know if you punched the wall, but it looked like you pushed a team member to me. I think it's his personal trainer, too. His trainer that he pushed.
They're saying he pushed the door.
That wasn't no door. Person's not a door. Unless, last time I remember, if you look at somebody and say, you're a better door than a window. So, I mean, looked like he pushed somebody, and that's unacceptable.
I think it's a better window than a door.
You're driving like hot garbage. You don't blame anybody but yourself. You can't blame anybody but yourself.
All right.
So both you guys slap your damn selves. And because we're in the desert, put a little sand in that baby so it stings a little bit extra. And slap yourself.
Them's is the slaps. He's got two. I was gonna do the Lance Stroll, but you just came out firing. You just came out firing. You're ready to trash my team. In the paddock, in F1.
Lined up in the wrong spot on the grid.
He just pulled up a little bit. It's like when you're at the gas station, you just pull up. They dream of a 12th.
It ain't the gas station.
Dream of a 12th.
Yes! We're back. In the paddock F1, grinning in the cheese. Oh yeah! You know what that sound means, boys and girls. It's time to take that fantasy ride to that fantasy island of Greentopia, where the beer flows like wine, the wine flows like beer. And the cannabis grows as far as the eyes can see. Look at it. Look at it out there. Green and luscious. Take a little whiff. That air smells fantastic. Take a little walk to the top of the hill with our tickets in hand. Somebody was running to this table, running to that casino this week. Are we cashing in? Are we? Check it out.
It wasn't a good one for you. So we both had Max for the win, which is an easy one, which is always a low payout anyway. So, gotta rock that. I think the gainer was a tie between Perez and Joe. Perez sneaking away with a point. You're lucky. So you're going to get a little diluted on that one. But the trifecta, sir. I had to go out on a limb here. I liked the performance of McLaren all weekend. And of course, I took him. So I took McLaren. And I got it right. And Max, Oscar, and Lando.
She did.
And somehow, ridiculous 18-1 odds. So that's going to put me significantly up here in the standings for the first time ever in the years we've been doing Greeny Bugs. So, congratulations.
No, you've been up substantially before, and then you blew it all in the past.
Oh, we're going to go up even more next time.
Which still can happen, so
I
still
am
have
going,
a lot of races left.
You would think that I would be smart after this, but I'm not going to be. No, we're taking it up.
That's why you wear a Mad Hatter hat. That's why.
So if you have nothing else to watch for the rest of this season, tune into In the Paddock F1 with Greeny and the Cheese, either on the YouTube or on the podcast, and see. I'm going to triple your score. So right now I have around 6,800 Greeny Bucks. I haven't done the final math because I have some weird math with the ties and stuff like that. and you gained a little bit. I think you went up 50 or 70 greeny bucks. That's not bad. You're at 5,400, a little more than 5,400 right now. And I'm at around 6,800. I got to do the exact math because, like I said, especially with the trifecta hitting, which was unexpected, but well deserved, I would say, at least. And here we are. The gunslinger has taken the lead. Because he has nothing more to say.
You're the gunslinger.
And I've taken the lead now.
Okay, gunslinger.
You listen, you gotta be a little loosey-goosey. I like the performance. I like the McLaren performance.
Are you gonna save the Dark Tower too? Gunslinger. That went right over your head, didn't it?
Right over the hat.
Yeah. Read some comic books.
Yeah, I don't read much. I don't read much of anything, but I do gamble well.
I wouldn't go that far, but I wouldn't go that far.
So with that, let's finish up strong in your favorite segment of the week.
In the news.
In the news, indeed.
Oh, I got a couple good ones here for you. And it goes into a little bit of the first segment here. Tires an absolute mess again for the second time at Qatar. Tire concerns with the curbs. And drivers almost passing out. Or passing out after the race. Puking on themselves in the car during the race. Should F1 be considering dropping Qatar from the calendar?
I don't know what's yes. First of all, the short answer is yes, and I have a couple other races I'd like to get rid of as well. But the short answer definitely for that is yes. They try to make it a night race. It's like in the middle of the night now. I mean, it can't be any cooler. The conditions can't be any cooler. I know they played the World Cup there, and there was the same issues there as regards to the World Cup and the heat. And
well, they invented the rule for the World Cup.
Yeah,
that's why now all around the world in the football world, if it's above 30 degrees Celsius, there's a mid break in the middle of halves. That never happened before that World Cup. Never happened before that World Cup.
So
never happened before.
What are we going to do? Are we going to do like a 5-second additional time so you can dump water on guys when they're in the pit stop, where everyone gets the pit stop plus 5? I don't know. You're gonna have to change the rules. You're going to have to change the rules. I'm not saying we do that. Just
don't go back. Just don't go back.
Off the top of my melon. Money talks, and it's really just about money. There's no reason the World Cup should have been in Qatar, but it was. So they're a small country with a lot of money. And if that's what works for them, is there about 10 other tracks around the world that are ready for an F1 race tomorrow that I'd rather go to? Yes. Yes. You could name 5 off the top of your head right now. But we're not there. And we have to continue to look at, or F1 needs to continue to look at other options, because you don't want to wait for someone to be hospitalized. And someone might be hospitalized. We're only 24 hours after the race at this point, so I don't know what happened. People do get sick days later. I've been dehydrated. I've been in those situations before. Sometimes you might not get sick for 2, 3, 4 days later with illness because of it, or your body hasn't caught up. And these are elite athletes, and but we're not just talking about the athlete. There's so many other people in that paddock that also work on these cars. So, a lot of problems with the heat. But yeah, my vote's no, but I don't think my vote counts, or it's not going to happen. They're going to be there. And they might have to change the rules.
All right, next story here. Christian Horner says Red Bull no longer has the driver pair like other F1 rivals. Time running out for Sergio.
Yeah, well, obviously that comment is directed at Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
He's been... It's funny how, if you listen back to what we said at the beginning of the season, that this was the end of the curse of the second Red Bull driver, and this is... after Sergio won a couple races early.
Started out looking all right.
Started looking out, and then we mentioned the curse, and it's really just been a curse. It's completely been a curse. A lot of it's self-incurred, though. We've been a lot of times where we've seen this quote-unquote curse of the second driver, and it hasn't been their fault 100%. It's been the vehicle or performance, but consistently 1 point over 3 races, technically, right? I mean, he didn't get any points. Did he get no points in the sprint? So he's only got 1.3 races, a tenth. That's not good enough. That's not even close to not good enough. I mean, both Alpha. I mean, how many teams have scored points? How many drivers have scored points over the last 2 races in the sprint race? Alpha, I mean, Liam Lawson scored points.
Yeah. Yep.
Come on. When's it gonna give? And
honestly, the best teammate Max ever had that actually put up some type of fight was Danny Ricciardo.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, at least Danny would be putting the car up on the podium or top fives consistently, not out of the points. 10th. Can't be 10th in a Red Bull this year.
No,
that's not acceptable.
No, you can't not score and can basically not score. You want to call 1 point a score? It's not. You can't have basically 1 point over 2 races in a sprint. The sprint's just there to pluck points. It's just sitting there. It's a sitting duck to just get extra points for good teams. It's built for it. There's no second half of the race. It's the first half of the race with no pit stops. So it's made for Red Bull to get points, to score. It's made for Merck to get some extra points on the board, fatten them up versus the back end of the field. And what do? You completely blow it. I mean, forget about a podium. You've been looking for a podium from Sergio Perez. I mean, with 5 consecutive races without getting to a
top
Q3.
5? Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fair.
All right, give me one more before we get out of here.
Scuttlebutt on this one. Rumor has it Lawrence Stroll is considered selling the team to some Saudi banks or Saudi backers, and also Lance Stroll is rumored to be leaving Formula One as well, and that's the reason behind Lawrence looking to sell the team. I bet that's music to your ears.
I hope they sell him to the Saudis.
Yeah, that's who's looking to buy the team.
No, I hope they sell Lance Stroll to the Saudis. Especially after what happened this weekend. Team they should sell the team to Andretti. That's what I think. They should pony up the money, but that's going to go for over $1 billion. Easy, several billion probably. I think will be.
I think the sponsor, their main sponsor, was it Aramco, which is basically Saudi oil, is probably going to be the buyer at this point.
Ramco.
Like Ramco, it's going to sell it. I got a little something here for you about Stroll. His dad built him a go-kart track when he was a kid, right? It was 15 minutes up the road. What would you have done as a kid? You would have walked your ass there, right? Oh, no. Lance Stroll used to get choppered from his house to the track. That's one. 2, when his dad was buying the team, Lance came with him. And apparently from one of the engineers said he had never met a driver that was more disinterested showing up to a factory than Lance Stroll was. So, I mean, maybe that right there gives you the reason why hasn't been a good driver. I mean, he's being embarrassed by Alonso. If you show up to a factory and you're a driver, your eyes should be popping out of your head and asking all kinds of questions. That's what every other F1 driver does when they showed up to a factory for the first time. And to be disinterested, showing up at a factory as a driver, I mean, that tells me all I need to know.
He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be there. I think we knew this, especially this season. I think he's just frustrated.
His mom even wants him to quit. His mom wants him to quit.
He has a good car this year. It's just exposed. He's never had a good car before, and he has a good car. that a 42-year-old man is out racing him, even though that guy is a future Hall of Famer in Fernando Alonso.
He is a Hall of Famer.
Not officially.
Well,
but the point being,
about that.
without dicing words, the point being that, he has no place in Formula One. My only regret is that I'm so curious as a fan to see what another driver would have done. A Pierre Gasly or someone else being in that vehicle, that Aston Martin this year, and give it a go legit instead of having someone who doesn't want to be there.
Think of this. Think if they brought in Alonso and Seb was still driving on that team. Where would that team be?
I think Seb wants to race a car just as much as Lance Stroll does these days.
I don't know. He was driving better than Lance Stroll last year at the end of the season, too.
Well, that's for damn sure. He had a fantastic fall. Sebastian Vettel had a fantastic fall. It was really fun to watch. But
just think of that, though. Just think of that. Well, that's why he left the sport. But just think of that if they had that lineup, where that team would actually be.
That would be the most fun team ever. That would be the most fun team if Alonso is having the exact same season he has right now, but Sebastian Vettel was still on the squad and was racing like he did in that car last fall or this time last year. Oh, that would be so much fun. They probably wouldn't win many races. They wouldn't change Max's trajectory, but that would be so much fun. Really, especially with the way Perez is driving and how McLaren started the season. That would have been one for the ages, having two Hall of Famers driving like that. But it didn't happen.
Nope.
And we got a spoiled brat who doesn't even want to be there.
Seb says he's has not totally closed the door on coming back either. So
very interesting. And with that being very interesting, we are overtime this week yet again. Say what you got to say, homie, and let's take it home.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Coming to Texarkana. Get some of that BBQ.
Coming home, Texas, baby. A lot of stuff going on in Texas this week. Wow.
2 weeks.
It'll be buzzing the next couple weeks. Especially those folks in the state here listening to or watching the baseball. A lot of action going on. But Greeny the Cheese in the Paddock F1. Don't forget to check out all of our episodes. They are all free. They're wherever you find all your favorite episodes of podcasts. It's everywhere. We're also on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. If you're checking us out on YouTube right now, then go to the podcast. Check us out on the podcast, then go to YouTube. And if you've watched everything, then we appreciate your time. Thanks so much. And as always,
stay medicated, my friends.
I don't want to steal your line. Peace.
Sorry.